Calculations. My name is Gary Johnson. I'm your host, and this is our third session with Mildred Muhammad. And let me tell you, the first two sessions have been tongue-wagging worthy, I guess, for some people, as we've had some, the analytics, we've had people in every state in the union have seen this show, the first two episodes. We've had thousands of people who've responded. People have sent in questions in advance. People have done a lot of things. And so the first episode with Mildred was kind of, I'll speak for myself. I learned a lot about how unwittingly I thought I was helping my friends who were victims of domestic abuse, and I was not. Doesn't make me a bad person. It just means that once I learned better, I did better. And I found out when I publicly disclosed that I wasn't the only one. Hundreds of other people said, hey, that's me as well. The second episode, and you can see all these episodes on calculationstalkshow.com, was more of kind of a practical exercise as Mildred was speaking to a group in Utah about her experiences. And we just stopped along the way to unpack some of the things that she was saying about domestic violence and abuse, things that we just didn't know. And so Mildred, as we welcome you back to the third episode, here's the question, and we're gonna go with every, but the question that I got sent in most was, why do victims of domestic violence return to the abuser? Over to you, Mildred.
Well, thank you for this wonderful program that we've been doing for the last two shows, and this is the third one. Why do victims return? There's a stat that says it takes a woman 7 times to leave before she leaves permanently. But we don't ask the question, why does it take 7 times? When a woman decides to leave an abusive relationship, understand it just didn't happen, oh, today I'm gonna leave. No, this took a lot of planning, a lot of critical thinking to make sure that when she left that first time, she was gone. However, the first time, maybe somebody said, you know, you can come and stay with me. You don't have to stay there. And she said, okay. And when she got there, no room was available. So she had to go back. Second time, somebody may have said, you know, I found this apartment that you can move into. I'll help you with the down payment. She gathered her stuff up again. She got there. Nobody was there. She had to go back. An organization, a shelter room may have been available at a certain time. She decided to leave, and unfortunately, the shelter was not up to standards. That could have been insects, roaches, rodents. She has children, have to take that into consideration. That's number 3, gotta go back home. Now understand, every time she returned, the abuse gets worse. 4th time, maybe a room was available, and she got there, wasn't there. There are many reasons why victims return. However, that should not prevent you from continuing to ask the question of how can I help you? I've heard over the years, well, I don't want to get involved because all she's going to do is go back. How do you know that? What are you basing that up on? Is that your subtle way of saying, I don't want to help? I don't want to get involved. It's not my problem. It is your problem. We don't want to get involved. We don't want to say anything unless it affects us personally. Now, there have been some family members that have gone to get the victim and bring her to a safe place. But for whatever reason, the thoughts he put in her head made her feel that her family didn't love her. And they was just doing that to break them up. See, you don't know the conversation that happens in an abusive relationship that prevents a woman from making a decision that you feel it's really easy. I mean, just pack a bag and leave. Where am I going? Shelters have changed their policies on who they will accept. When I was in a shelter, you didn't have to have physical scars. Now you have to be literally beaten to go into a shelter. It's not about a threat. It's not about, oh, this is a safe place. No, if she's not beaten to where the physical scars are present, she can't go into a shelter. They're not having it. There are some shelters that don't accept boys over the age of 7 because they feel that if they see a different woman other than their mother without clothes and underwear or house coat, that they will be sexualized. So they raised the age to 14, but now 14, they look at him as a man. And so now you have to go to a men's shelter. I mean, how many women with sons are going to put their child in a men's shelter? I'm not. I don't feel comfortable doing that. So what do I have to do? I gotta go home. I'm not sleeping. I'm not being homeless with my children. I'm not doing that. So if you're going to approach a victim, like I told you before, have your boundaries in check. Know what you will do, what you won't do, and what you can't do. Be upfront. Look, I can do A, B, C, and D. That's all I can do. Or I can't do anything, but at least give them the domestic violence hotline number, 800-799-7233. At least do that. But stop asking the victim, why do you stay? That question you ask, why does she keep going back? How come I didn't get a question of, why does the abuser keep abusing? You didn't get one of those questions, right? You didn't get a question.
No one posted that.
Oh, no. Because they are just as afraid of the abuser as I am. It's easier to continue to victimize the victim because that will give you a reason. See, that's why I can't help her because she's just going to go back. That's your excuse. Okay, cool. Stop asking the victim, why does she stay? Why did she leave? Why did she? Start asking the abuser. Start holding the abuser accountable. The laws are changing to rescue the abuser, the rapist, the molester, the pedophile. Can't you see the laws are changing throughout this land? A woman doesn't get pregnant on her own. Come on. An abuser picks, chooses, scopes out, knows who, grooms, prepares a woman to be abused. It's not going to just come up to you and say, hey, I'm Tom. I really want to have a relationship with you because, I think you're cool. You got a lot going on with you. I see you making moves in this world. I just want to be a part of that and help you. But before I get to the helping part, what I want to do, I want to control you. I'm going to make you feel like you're worth nothing. I'm just going to isolate you from all these opportunities you have. I'm actually going to sabotage you. It's going to look like I'm helping, but I'm actually sabotaging, right? So that I can help you to self-doubt, to lose confidence, to lose your self-esteem, and then toss you aside. Now, if any man or woman came up to you and told you that, would you be in a relationship with them? No, because everybody meets the representative. Everybody meets the representative. You don't know what you have to 2 to 3 months out. Come on. So stop asking the victim all of these questions. All you're doing is putting the total responsibility of the abuse on the victim. Why does she keep returning? Why does he keep abusing? Why won't she leave? Why won't he stop? Either way. But you choose the victim. You choose to question the victim. But you don't want to question the abuser.
You know, this show is different than any other interview show I've done. And I've done them with athletes, entertainers, people all across the spectrum. And people for this show, not all, but a lot, have told me, let me submit my questions to you in advance. I cannot afford to be on that broadcast live. I'll
Right.
watch, and I'm accommodating of that. I'll watch it later this afternoon once you upload it, because I can't afford to take a risk and be seen either by name only or have my face shown on the screen.
Right.
But I want the information, and so they're glad that we're recording live and then we just upload it in a few hours so they can still get the information.
There are a lot
And that's why I get these questions in advance, you know, because some
there
of
are
the
a
people
lot
that
of
are,
victims that have questions that want to participate, but they won't. Not that they can't, they won't, for fear that somebody on this broadcast will either recognize their name or hear their voices and run back to their abuser and say, hey, I heard her on the radio talking about your relationship. What's really going on here? You just said,
I've had that scenario posed to me. Say, Gary, I really would like to be on, but I can't take the risk because some of the people who follow you, and I mean, I know all of them, I know a lot of them, and someone may just mistake me or say I was there. And so they can't take the risk, and I understand that. I'll open it up for anybody who is here, who wants to engage Mildred before I ask a question, because I'm still processing some of what you said. Free Spirit, Jerry, Sharon, anybody? You all want to chime in?
don't be scared, don't be scared.
Because everybody's still on mute. You can get off mute.
Hi,
Sharon.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for the invite. This is a very interesting topic. And I guess I've never really thought about something like this the way you're presenting it. It's given me new insight. I mean, luckily I don't have any like direct experience with this. I do have some very distant friends I've had stories of abuse for different reasons. Luckily, they haven't lasted very long for those ladies. But it is interesting the way you're presenting it from the victim's perspective versus, you know, the abuser. You know, when you look at things that are presented on movies or TVs, you really don't see it that way. You kind of see, like, as you're saying, why wouldn't someone leave? Why wouldn't they get out? Clearly, when their children presented, you know, in a relationship, that makes it that much more difficult because there are more issues to be considered. But I am finding it very interesting what you're saying around age group with children, because I had no idea that, you know, that would be something that would have to be taken into consideration, because quite honestly, it hasn't been presented to me directly with my own life, thank God, or any of my friends that have to like try to come up with solutions for that. But I do think this is a topic that should be talked about more in detail as you're doing. I think these types of broadcasts will definitely help people to understand there are greater issues at stake than what women really realize. Because you would think, like, if it's a single woman and she's capable, when I say single, I should say a woman that doesn't have children, right? Whether she's married or it's, you know, not a marriage involved, that the ability to get out would be easier. And sometimes that's clearly not the case. But I do think all the issues that you're raising and you're putting forth should be a broader conversation that's happening. So people do understand it's not as simple as just, as you say, getting a suitcase and going to a friend's house.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
My little phone line is blowing up now. So these questions. Oh my goodness. Another question, Mildred, is from episode 2 about forgiveness.
Mhm.
And it also popped up on the chat.
Okay.
In my case, I was able to call my friend and apologize for just not knowing that what I was saying was actually taking the side of the abuser.
Mhm.
And she was very, very, I could tell, thankful and heartfelt that I apologized.
Mhm.
But what if the victim is no longer around?
No longer around, out of the city,
Like-
out of the
like-
country.
Like passed away.
Mm.
And so the question is, if you don't have, if that person is not around to call, what does the person do, or what advice can you give them?
So the person, since the person is no longer alive on the planet, then the best thing that you can do is forgive yourself. Because now you understand the error that you had caused or did. And you have to forgive yourself, because if you knew better, you would have done better. That's the best. So don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be second guessing that you're a terrible person. You're not. You just didn't know. A lot of people don't know the questions that they ask or the statements that they say are victim blaming, because we don't talk about it. We just say, oh, that's victim blaming. Okay, but what does that really mean? How are you blaming the victim? And so for those who haven't watched the other shows, victim blaming is when you blame the victim for the behavior of the abuser. And what I was demonstrating was, when a victim comes to your friend, your colleague, or whomever comes to you and say, you know, John was treating me so badly, and I don't understand what I've done. And your response is, well, he doesn't seem like that type of person. You took this out of the abuser. I mean, he's just treated me, and then you get the, well, it's not that I don't believe you. Yes, it is. It is that you don't believe. It's not that I don't believe you. I just find it difficult to believe that he would do something like that. So you're taking his side. Although you met him through me, I've been your friend for years, and I'm coming to you as a confidant, as my friend, knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt, you got my back. And your first response is, well, he doesn't seem to be that type of person. I mean, I've met him, but you met who he wanted you to meet. You ain't met the man that I know. What do you mean? What are you saying? Well, it just doesn't seem to be that type of person. Maybe you misinterpreted what he said. Maybe you're blowing it out of proportion. So you're taking his side. You're victim blaming. You're taking his side automatically. Any excuse you give as to the behavior of the person that's abusing your friend, your colleague, you have taken the side of the abuser, period. Period. Your response should be, John is treating me so, I don't know what to do. Let's figure it out. How can I help you? What we doing? How we gonna fix this? What you need me to do? Those should be your responses. You should not be second guessing me. I'm your friend. What do you mean? You should not be second guessing me. You should not be telling me, maybe you should just go back and try it again because maybe you misunderstood. Why is it that I misunderstood? Why are you taking his side? I don't even understand that. You're my friend.
Okay, hang on. While we're there, how does that make you feel?
You
when
don't
your friend
betrayed. Okay. You did not have my side. You told me I was your girl. You said we would be friends forever. No matter what happens, I got you. What do you mean you got me and you taking this side? What does that mean? You know I wouldn't come up with something crazy like this. Come on now. Do I want to be a victim? No. Did I sign up to be one? No. I didn't sign the dotted line to be abused. I met the man who I fell in love with. Over time, he changed, which meant he became abusive, and I decided this is not for me. Well, you don't want to throw away 20 years of a relationship. What do you mean? The man be what? If I'm willing to throw it away, can't you just support me in that? What do you mean? Why are you trying to make me go back? Why are you trying to send me back to be abused? You say you care about me or you care about him? I had one person say, well, you know, you should really go back to John because he really loves you. I said, do you want it? Because I don't. I told you I'm leaving. Don't try to convince me to stay. My mother always said, you don't know a person until you live with them. I'm living with him. You're on the outside looking in, and you're only seeing what he's allowing you to see. So when I come up and said, oh, well, he's such a good man in the community, or he's an imam, or he's a pastor, he's a senator, he's all of these things. And what does that mean? So because he's all of these things, he can't be an abuser? Is that what it is? He can't be that too?
Okay. Again, from your perspective,
I'm betrayed. I feel betrayed. I feel hurt. I thought, not only do I feel hurt, now I have to worry about if you are going to go back and tell him.
Oh, man.
And you know, I heard Mildred saying all this stuff about you, right? Are you doing that? Really? And they came back and asked John. John came home and said, you been out there telling people what I've been doing, huh? I tell you what, I'm going to fix it so that if you go back out there again, nobody will believe you. And when he took the children and I went back, girl, John told us John told us you was going to come around saying all that stuff about him. Snap out of it. Get back to work. At least your children are with their father. Girl, you tripping. They didn't believe one thing I said. He fixed it.
Yeah, he took your kids away from you for 18 months.
18 months. And nobody, all those friends were his friends. Because when they took his side, they became his friends. They would come around and check on me. Oh, Mildred, we just coming by to see how you doing. And then go back and tell him what I was doing.
I would imagine, Mildred, that for, my brain is kind of cycling, you know, for some women, and I also want to I want to flip the script about men being abused also.
Oh yeah, they are too. Let's not forget.
But since we're on this topic of women, and you said something earlier about the shelter, what is it like living in a shelter?
People think a shelter is glorified. It's not. It is not. I was in a shelter with women who were transitioning from prison, women who were mentally ill, homeless women. And then you have to adapt. I mean, before going into a shelter, I mean, some of the women say, girl, you green as the grass. I didn't know anything about the street. What? They thought that, they told me, everybody has an angle. We've never met anybody like you. You're nice. We don't meet nice people. So you're being nice to do what? To take advantage of us, to make us feel bad. I don't even know what you're talking about, an angle. Don't know none of that. But I had to adjust, my language had to bring it down a bit. I had to bring it down. I said, okay, I need to start talking like y'all, huh? I need to start, flexing.
to fit
Never had
in.
a fight
So
in I've never, ever had a fight in my life, but I had to present the persona that I had been, right? Man, that's a survival thing altogether. Everybody don't want to be in a shelter. They thought I was in a shelter. I was sitting down with some of the women just laughing and talking. And the executive director, she came through, she saw me laughing. And she said, Millie, that's my safe name, it's Millie. Millie.
safe name. Okay.
Safe name. It's Millie. She said, that man not trying to kill you. You up in here laughing and everything. You just in here because you don't want to pay your bills. You don't want to pay my bills? Is that
I
what
know
I'm
you're serious.
I said, okay. So you teach the spirituality class. And in that class, you said we are supposed to take our burdens to the Lord and leave them there. So if I take my burdens to the Lord and leave them there, why shouldn't I smile? Why shouldn't I laugh knowing that God is fighting my battle, and at the appointed time, I will get my children back? So what are you saying? She walked off. Take your burden to the Lord and leave them there. If you leave them, then you move on with your life, knowing God's gonna do everything he told you he was gonna do. Just keep going. Just keep going. That's what I did. I just kept going. We had the get vouchers to go and get clothes, right, from the YWC. It had a clothing closet. So when I go to the clothing closet, I get the suits, jackets, slacks, dresses. I'm dressing up for outside. This is not my destination. This is a stepping stone, right? So I'm walking around the shelter in suits. The other lady said, why are you in a suit? I don't understand. I said, this is not my destination. I am preparing to leave. And when I leave, I know I'm going to be prepared to dress for success, right? So the next month they gave us clothing, a clothing voucher. What they get? The suits. They left me with the sweats. Because you got to prepare. Everything starts in the mind. Everything starts in the mind. If I say that I'm not going to do better, you're not going to do better. If I say I'm going to get out of this, I'm going to get out of this. I signed up for paralegal courses in the shelter because I could not get an attorney. They wanted $2,500 retainer. I didn't even have 25 cents. How am I going to get a retainer? You know what? I need to learn the law. So I signed up for Professional Career Development Institute online courses. Back then they were $5. Not $5 anymore. $5. Signed up for paralegal, making straight A's in the shelter. YWCA found out about it, asked me to work in their legal department. I had to dress in a disguise. They had to pick me up at 3 o'clock in the morning in a disguise to take me to the shelter, to their office to work in the legal department to help other victims of domestic violence. I was going to court, helping them to get restraining orders. The judge that gave me my restraining order looked at me and nodded his head. They knew who I was. So I'm in the courtroom, house. I need to get my own paperwork straight. So I got my divorce October 6, 2000. I got a writ of habeas corpus that stated anywhere they found my children, they needed to pick them up and bring them back to me. Washington State just passed a law stating that if you are a victim of domestic violence, you can leave the state without being charged with kidnapping, and you do not have to let your abuser know where you are going. I got all of my paperwork notarized. My sister called and said my mother was sick. That's why I came to the DC area, to help my sister take care of my mother. There are all these reports. She fled from, I didn't flee, no. Mama sick. What you gonna do? Stay where you are, you gonna go take care of mom? Came here to take care of my mother, filed my restraining order under full faith and credit so that the same power it had in Washington State, it would have in the DC area. Called the FBI. We're gonna get to that part later.
Let's do it.
All right. Called the FBI. They sent over an agent. I said, you kidnapped my children? My cousin is a private investigator. He said that when the trail runs cold, it means the people that you're looking for are no longer in the country. He said, okay, Ms. Muhammad, what paperwork you have? I gave him my divorce decree, writ of habeas corpus, pictures of John, pictures of our children, and the restraining order. He took all my paperwork. 2 weeks later, sent it back to me. He said, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. We're going to send you back to Seattle because this is an ongoing case. Gave me an agent's number to call. I called that agent. I said, I am running for my life. My children are no longer in the country. I am in hiding. I need your help to find them because he's looking for me. They said, okay, Ms. Muhammad, well, since we know he's looking for you, what we want to do is we want to put you in the middle of a parking lot and use you as a decoy. This way, we can lure him out. I said, excuse me, it's going to be a headshot. You're not going to know which way the bullet is coming from. We're just trying to help you out. Click. Some would say, well, you did not go along with what the police wanted to do. You right. I didn't go along with that because John is an expert shot. He can shoot for, please, he was a sniper. I'm going to stand out in the parking lot waiting, shot in the head. Now what? You didn't cooperate with the police. You're right, I didn't. Absolutely not.
You know, the calculations, I've told you this over the years, and I've told other people. I said Mildred Muhammad is the strongest woman I've ever known and will probably ever meet. I've said this for over a decade now. The calculations, and like this, the website that I have here is the decisions that people have to make sometimes in milliseconds. All of us have had to make calculated decisions. What were some of the toughest calculations that you had to make? Because I'm still processing as someone who's a parent, not knowing where my children were for over 18 months and living in a shelter and all the other things. But didn't John create some calculations for you where you had to make some tough decisions?
He told me that, he said, you have become my enemy, and as my enemy, I will kill you. John was a man of his word, said what he meant what he said. I knew if he killed me, he would bury me somewhere where no one would be able to find me. I knew that. So when I was signing for a package for my mom for Mother's Day, this is after he took the children, and they took me to the hospital and found out that I needed 3 units of blood because my cycle wouldn't go off. So I was in bad shape. Nobody knew I was at the hospital but 2 people. My mom and the lady across the street who came to take care of my mom when they took me to the hospital. My phone rang and it's John. He said, how you doing? I said, I'm good. Remember, I'm good, right?
Oh yeah, that's from another episode.
From another episode.
When somebody says they're good, they're not good.
So many emotions attached to that. I said, I'm good. I said, why won't you let the children call me? He said, we don't always get what we want, do we? See, there's a dialogue that goes on between the abuser and the victim that nobody really understands but the victim. So I had 2 choices. I could go back to him and die because he said, you have become my enemy, and as my enemy, I will kill you. Or I could hang up the phone and never see my children again. And I hung up the phone. And then I let out a scream. The nurse came. I said, can you trace the call? They traced the call to a woman who called the hospital for John. Shortly thereafter, my mother called and said John called her and said he was on his way to the hospital to kill her daughter. So they took me out of one room, put me in another, took my name off the register. Social worker came in. She said, you have 3 things you need to do. 1, change your name. Change it to a name that when people call you, you will respond. So my safe name is Millie. 2, we bring in you some different clothes because the clothes that you have, he may be able to recognize you. And 3, the most difficult of all, you have to disconnect from everybody that you know because we have to put you in hiding. Your mother, no one can know where you're going. So we got all that straight. We had to wait until it was dark. We went out the back door of the hospital. A car was waiting. I had to slouch down in the front seat so no one would know I was in the car, but I was watching the rooftops, the open windows, because I knew it was going to be a headshot. 1 shot, 1 kill to the head, never leave an enemy behind. That was John's motto. They drove me all over the city when actually the shelter was right across the street from the hospital.
Let me pause and open it up for any questions from anyone who's here, or any response to what we've done.
I have a
and
question.
said.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't know about the prior segment, so unfortunately I don't have the access to the information you relayed there, but I do have a question. Where is this man today?
He was executed in 2009.
Wow, okay.
And
They
Sharon, you
actually
can,
executed him. They made it a point to execute him before Veterans Day because they did not want that news going out that a veteran was executed.
Okay.
and you can see the other 2 episodes on the website. I'll send you a link.
Yes. Thank you.
Let me
Go
ask
ahead.
a question.
You got it.
I don't think you would recommend this, but I'm just wondering whether you've run into people who, by the way they were raised, I'm an old guy, from a time when boys don't hit girls and men that hit women are punks and that kind of thing, run into people who've had some family member with success deal with the abuser. And in my own case, I've had 2 occasions to talk to an abuser in my family. This was years ago, before I was 78. And actually put a stop to it by, I guess, doing the very thing you wouldn't recommend, but threatening the abuser in such a way that they believed that they would be in more trouble if they were to repeat any of the activities. The question I'm asking is whether one of the things we're up against is the time that we live in and a lack of some cultural restraints that used to exist. You know, a man wouldn't hit a woman. So if they did that, they wouldn't want anybody to know that. And the thing we used to teach kids, boys don't hit girls. You don't hear that. In fact, I've run into some guys that said, if a girl hits you, you can hit her back. And I said, that's crazy. So I guess we're a victim of the times. And also we're a victim of people that don't preach the way it was back in the day. When I was a kid, you couldn't hit a girl no matter what. And if you found out somebody in the family, as I told you, 2 of them were actually abusing my aunt, we didn't know until she hurt her arm. And I went over and talked to the guy in a way that I'm sure you wouldn't recommend. But it was successful because basically once I found out, anyway, so you get the picture. So the question I'm having is, one of the other things we can do now, besides what you're talking about, is we need to somehow resurrect some of that old notion about the way we treat each other, manners, etiquette, and men don't hit women and etc. I'm just saying that. I mean, it's maybe an impossible task. Times are changing so fast. If I read one more killing in the paper today, kids killing kids, but I think that's one of the problems, that the culture has changed around us in so many ways. And so what you're doing is a good thing, but I also want to shed light on it wasn't always this way. It was a secret thing. And if you did that, you'd be ashamed if somebody found out, my goodness, you beat your wife like that. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I don't even know if I said anything. Gary, did I say anything?
You said a mouthful.
There are family members that have successfully pulled their family member out of an abusive relationship, and she did not return.
All
Every
right.
victim wants to leave, but every victim doesn't know
Right.
how. There are some that have taken the avenues that you suggested, which has also helped. But we're in a time, I agree, where the culture has changed. And so the most dangerous man in the world is someone who has nothing to lose. And so that's with all of the killings that's happening, they're not afraid to go to jail anymore. They're not even afraid to be killed. They're not afraid. They're not afraid to, if I can't have you, can't nobody have you. John said that too. That's why I went into hiding. And when you, I mean, now the killings are so matter of fact that if you reject a man, you're going to be killed. You don't even have to know him. You say no, you'll be attacked. So it's the emotional stability of some men, because we can't say all, some men, it's not there. They have not been taught how to handle rejection. And that is a large part of women being killed, because we're saying no. Hell no, I won't go. I'm not doing that. Or I'm not doing this. Oh, now you're being disrespectful. You don't want to listen to what I mean, I'm an adult. You're not my dad. We're supposed to be partners, you know. So you don't want a woman to speak up. Don't want a woman to talk back. All I want you to do is be quiet, cook, and intimacy. That's all I want you to do. Have children. Okay, you wanted the children. I didn't want them. But the children are used as pawns because they know that the woman loves her children more than anything. You take the children away, then you buckle her to her knees. I always said John loved his children, but that's not why he took them.
Why did he take them?
To punish me for leaving.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Punish me for leaving. I actually thought at one point that he was going to wait until they were asleep and shoot them in the head to punish me. He took them out of the country. He took them to Antigua. That's out of the country. Antigua's under British rule. If anything would have happened to him, they would have been stuck over there. And I would not know where they were.
Can you tell us what it was like when you saw the kids for the first time, when you got them back?
Well, let me tell you what it was like without them. When you see these programs about children missing or they're reunited with mother or father, you know, that's a pain that I didn't even know if I was a mother anymore. That's how deep it went. I didn't know if they were eating, so I didn't. I didn't know if they were drinking, so I didn't drink. I got down to a 1.
A size 1.
1. I'd have been a 1 since middle school. A 1. Oh, I couldn't eat. The doctors was, Millie, you gotta eat. I said, but I don't know if they're eating. Half a slice of bread and crushed ice. That's all I was doing. I couldn't sleep. They gave me sleeping pills. First, they gave them to me for 4 hours. Then they had to do it for 8. Then they had to do it for 16. Because I wouldn't sleep. That's painful, not knowing where your children are. And all you hear is, well, you hear other children around you, and they say, Mom, you look. Because I had one little girl, she looked just like Selena. Oh my God, you look just like Selena. I could pick her up and say, Selena. It was hard. It was really hard. So I journaled a lot. I journaled all of that out because that was my way of staying grounded, not losing my mind. But when I got them back, You know those pallets that they use to pump your heart, right?
Yeah.
That's how I felt when I first heard Taliba's voice. Hi, mommy. What? John did not want to talk to me. He did not. He was angry. He felt I took him away from his dad. Angry. Full of rage. Angry. I didn't care. Whatever. We're going to get over it.
Give me a hug, boy.
Yep. No, I didn't push.
Okay.
I did not. I let them come to me. I knew that I had to create a safe space, but I had to create it where they wouldn't feel like I was talking about their dad. Because they love their dad. I never said anything bad about their dad. To them, growing up, nope, not doing that. It took both of us to bring you here. I'm not, no. As they got older, they began to hear and see what was happening. Because when he took them, he told them that they were on vacation. Mommy's coming. She'll be here later. So they didn't think anything of that. Why would daddy lie?
That's a pretty important point for children. Because at that age, I mean, mommy and daddy, grandparents, other relatives, they're just figures that, like you said, why would mommy or daddy lie? Mommy or daddy would not tell me anything that would hurt me or be wrong.
Nope, not at all.
So if daddy says we're on vacation, mommy's coming.
Then mommy's coming.
Wow. What were the ages again?
6, 7, and 9.
Yeah. Wow.
I got them back when Selena was 9, because she told me I missed 2 birthdays. You missed 2 birthdays, mommy. Okay. Taliba was 8, and John was 11.
And then, of course, you discussed in the second episode that at least a little bit of that road to get them back. Where in terms of going to doctors and psychologists and just trying to reorient them back into your life and society.
We couldn't find and also although there were referrals, the counselors were more concerned about being famous, going on TV. The DC sniper's wife said this, the DC children said that. We went to the last one we tried, the guy came. I said, come on, we're getting ready to go to this counseling. John said, Mom, I don't want to go. What do you mean you don't want to go? I don't want to go. I said, we be going, let's go. So we got there. The counselor comes out of the office and he says, John, did you do what I asked you to do? John starts to stand behind me. I said, well, what did you ask him to do? Because clearly I wasn't here. So what did you ask him to do? Well, I asked him to write down what he thought and how Lee felt. And this way I could help y'all to write a book. Because I know that y'all need the money. He said, okay. So you lucky I'm not a cursing woman. And so this will be the last time we're at your facility. So we walking out to the car, John's crying. Mom, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. Nope, not crying. I went to the library. I got a book on counseling. And I learned how to counsel me and my children myself. I felt that I was the best person to create a space that they would be able to ask questions about their dad, and that I would put my stuff aside, because the relationship between a husband and wife is different than children and parent. And so understanding that dynamic, I said, okay, I can do this. And I did. And so I told them, I am your best resource to ask any questions you want to ask. And I will answer them, even if it makes me look bad. Because the only way we're going to deal with this is with the truth. And although scripture says that the truth shall make you free, it doesn't say it won't hurt. So let's go. They wanted to pull out the home videos. Lord have mercy. Mom, can you narrate the videos and tell us what Dad was thinking? Yep, let's go.
Wow. Do you have access to the chat? Can you see the question in the chat?
No.
Okay, let me read it.
Okay.
During the time this was happening, the DC sniper, the person says, I was reading everything in the Washington Post and papers. How much of this was true?
What were you reading though? Washington Post. So I don't know what you read, so I'll put it like this. They wanted you to believe that two Black men in a Chevy was trying to embezzle the United States government to put $10 million on a stolen credit card. How real is that? It's not. They did not tell you that I was the intended target, because they would not have been able to get the death penalty for domestic violence. When they caught John, they didn't tell you this either. It's not in the paper. When they caught John, they had nothing to hold him on. They had to find something within 24 to 48 hours, or they would have had to let him go. There was a sheriff in Maryland went looking in LexisNexis all over the place and found my restraining order. The Tacoma Police Department did not put my restraining order in the NCIC, National Crime Information Center. He put my restraining order in there, the sheriff from Maryland, which gave them the ability to hold him for violating the restraining order, thereby giving them ample time to build their case against him. Had it not been for my restraining order, they would have had to let him go. The foreman said the reason they gave him the death penalty is because they did not want him to finish what he started, which was to kill Mildred Muhammad.
That's okay. I want to shift.
Is it another question?
Well, I promised, but I said I wanted to talk about men being abused.
Okay.
So from your perspective,
I've helped many men who were victims of domestic violence. There was one where they, the split level houses they have here, bottom, okay. So he had a restraining order. He lived at the bottom and she lived at the top, and they had one son. So what she did, she took that restraining order to the commissioner and had the names flipped. So she was the victim and he was the abuser. And then because the restraining order said that gave her the power to have him evicted from the house. And they knocked on the door and said, it's time for you to go, you gotta go. Took him out of his house. He called me frantic. Said, okay. Said, she's gonna take me for everything. She said she's gonna leave me with the shirt on my back. I said, wow. That's deep. So I told him what to do. I said, this is what you have to do. You have no physical scars. You got to build your case. Go back 2 months, date and time and the incident. Write down. Don't give me no I feel, I heard. You got nothing to do with your feelings. Actual facts. That's all we did. Like Judge Judy said, we just deal with facts. You want emotions? Go see Dr. Phil. We are talking actual facts. That's all the courts deal with. Date, time, as much as you can remember about the incident. Take that paperwork to an attorney. We need, and when you look for an attorney, it has to be an attorney that specializes in domestic violence. Any other attorney, you are wasting your money. Domestic violence attorneys are the only attorneys that understand the dynamics of a court proceeding for domestic violence. Don't go getting a medical attorney or real estate attorney. No. They're taking your money. They're wasting your time. They're not going to file the paperwork on time. I've had so many victims tell me this. And then some of those victims, the abusers are the abuser was able to buy off that attorney and the victim's attorney, and had that attorney turn over evidence to the abuser's attorney. I digress. So, date and time and the incident. Get you an attorney, or if you're doing it yourself, file those affidavits in the clerk of court. Tell you we need a court date. Take them to court and let the judge see your information. This is a pattern of abuse, although I don't have the scars. He was able to turn that around and had her put out of the house for filing a false report. And he was able to keep his job because he worked at the post office. So she was seriously trying to sabotage him. And you have women out there, we don't like to talk about the women of, abusers, but there are a lot of them. And they're quiet and they look pretty and they're, all reserved in public, but go behind them doors. And when men are taught not to hit a woman, I remember going to a conference and there was a woman there talking about how she was the abuser. She said she had the man on his knees and he was praying for God to deliver him out of that situation. She said she went and got a gun and held it to his head and said, pray one more time and I'm gonna answer your prayers. Because we want to be taken out. So any kind of threat, you say, how somebody's asking me, how many chances should you give them? Well, that's 3. That's up to you. I mean, everybody's level of pain is different. But when you notice, you feel somebody call you out your name, or they say, the names that they have these days is crazy. If they're not calling you a sweet name, but they're calling you out of your name or attaching some negative comment after your name, you can't dismiss that. Those days are over. You have to look at what Maya Angelou said, when someone is showing you who they are, believe them the first time. After that first time that you feel that abuse is present, let me put it like this. If you're in a relationship and you're Googling, am I in an abusive relationship? You are.
Wow.
If you're Googling, what are the signs of an abuse? You're in an abusive relationship. If you're Googling, what is a narcissist? You're in an abusive relationship.
So when you come to terms that you're in an abusive relationship and you finally come to terms that you have to get out, are most abusers thinking strategically about a plan, or is it still just emotional run for your life?
All emotion. Abusers are not thinking about anything because they know you're going to stay. It's already in their mind. You ain't going nowhere. Because if you were gonna leave, so there was a victim who was in a relationship for 15 years, all abuse. She had all the signs were there. And she said, but he doesn't think I will leave. I say, well, why should he? Because he's done all of these things to you and you stayed. He's done all these things to you and you stayed. What makes him feel that once you decide to leave, that he's going to believe you? Once you leave, then the abuse, the stuff, really, the stalking and all of this really starts, because now they're losing control. And a person who loses control, you don't know what they will do. That's why when you leave, you have to be strategic. You can't just up and leave. Sometimes you have to. But if you can plan it and plan it strategically, you will be successful in leaving. And whatever you do, don't go. I left the birth certificate, order another one. I left my passport, tell them it was stolen or lost. Get a new one. When you leave, do not go back for any reason. Anything you left, you can buy it again. You cannot buy your life. Buy another one. Buy a better one.
So don't even think that you're just slick enough to go back. Oh, I'll just do it when he's at work.
Well, nowadays they have the cameras in the house, right?
Yeah.
So you don't think they're gonna get a notification that somebody's in the house? They're gonna get a notification that you at the door?
Yeah.
Ain't that easy to go back no more.
Technology, good and bad, it can work for you.
Good and
against
bad,
you.
it can work. Yeah, sure can.
Wow.
Because now they have, the couples, they share their locations. If that's not a stalking thing, I don't know what it is. My son said, Mom, you need to get an iPhone. Something. Nope. Nope. It could be a blessing. It could be a hindrance. But man, when you turn off that location, why you turned off your location? Why are you stalking? Why are you watching where I'm going though? I mean, for real though. Why? I mean, so there's a lot of technology is for good, but a lot of it can be used for evil. We know that. Just be careful.
I'm going to step out of technology for this next question.
Okay.
I've heard, and I don't know if it's backed up. I think I read some reports on this. For example, people who suffer from depression and mental abuse, there's certain times, like with a full moon, certain days where people are just worse off than at other times. Is there, I guess if you're an abuser, every day is a bad day, but.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
Oh.
Abusers have good days. Doesn't mean they're not an abuser. They have good days. I even made a post of that on my Facebook page and on TikTok. Just because they're having a good day doesn't mean they're not abusers. Just remember that.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Doc.
I just want to add something to the conversation that I've learned over the years, having to do with Mildred is talking about planning. Women, when they put their mind to it properly, as she's saying, to make a move, can do the impossible, because a friend of mine who used to leave for work at 7 in the morning, he'd drive a Frito-Lay's truck, and his wife was planning to leave him. And when he came home from work that night at 8 o'clock, she had moved everything out of the apartment in the Bronx, including the refrigerator, which belonged to the apartment complex. She took the locks off the door. And we were trying to figure out how when he left for work, everything was fine. Have a nice day, honey. And when he came home from work, she emptied it. I guess the point I'm trying to make is a woman determined can do things that would amaze anybody. They can make it happen. So what Mildred is saying, if you plan it properly and know what you're doing, I've seen some stuff that women have done that I said, how in the heck did they do that? How did the guy not know it? That's a deal, man.
What she had and what she kept was the element of surprise.
Big time. She took the locks off the door.
She played it like she's supposed to, just act natural. You already got, she was planning behind the scenes. She probably went left. She probably had the truck already ready to pull up. Come on, he's on.
She
So
did.
that was perfect. And there's a lot of women that do it like that too, but you have to keep the element of surprise. That's what she did.
So that's my praise to the female of the species. And they teach you this in psychology classes. Women think differently and have a different way of approaching than men. And they can definitely outthink us. And as smart as I am, I'm not going one-on-one against any woman. I'm not gonna mess with it. So I just want to say that was an example for me of somebody that could do that. A 2-bedroom apartment, complete, including, as I say again, I gotta say it, took the refrigerator, which belonged to the apartment complex. She took the locks off the door when he came home from work. The door, he just pushed it open, and his echo went hello, 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 like that.
Wow.
And she successfully escaped, and there you go. She was fine. So that's all. I just want to add that. The women are amazing. How's that? That's what I wanted to say.
Women of surprise.
Is every day a bad day for a victim?
Yes. Every day.
Okay.
Because you don't know what you're getting when they get up in the morning. How they gonna be there all day. When they leave to go to work and you're at home, oh my God, I can take a breath for at least an hour. But I gotta clean up, I gotta make sure it's cooked, I gotta make sure all these things are in place because I'm trying to make sure that there's nothing that will trigger an episode. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of energy that's being put forth in all of that.
Are there any holidays better than the other?
But what do you think? What is the worst holiday for victims of domestic violence? Some people would say Christmas. Some people would say Thanksgiving or Easter, New Year's.
Ask the question again.
What is the worst holiday for victims of domestic violence?
Your wedding day?
Nope. Nope.
Your birthday?
Nope.
Good grief. The day the kids were born, the first child?
Nope.
I give up.
Father's Day.
Oh, wow.
The worst day. I didn't get what I wanted.
Whoa, Father's Day. I didn't see that one coming.
The worst.
Father's Day.
Because they'll tell you on Mother's Day, well, aren't you a mother every day? You can't say that. Well, aren't you a father every day?
Oh boy, Mildred, chat question here. Would you marry again?
Yep, I would. Every man is not John. I have completely healed from this. So if you crazy on your own. You ain't got nothing to do. I have nothing to do with how you still, no, I'm not. It's you. But I have my boundaries in check. I know what I will and won't accept. I know that if I feel something is up, I'm gonna talk to you about it. I'm gonna bring it to your attention. That third time, I'm out. Because we are supposed to give people a chance, time to, you apologize, there should be some action behind the apology, not 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, then you back to who you were. If you back to doing what you were doing before, that's you. That's who you are. You're trying to be other than yourself. You're trying to be other than yourself, which is why it's a problem. Because you don't know how to be the way that you said you were in the beginning. Because it's all going to come out.
I think, let me just ask the question.
Okay.
Even though I think you've told us, but maybe I need to hear it a different way. What do people like me, people or any of us who have friends that may come to us, what is it that I need to be aware of so I do not unwittingly take the side of abuser by saying something?
Well, first of all, if I'm coming to you, you have demonstrated or said something that lets me know that you are a safe place for me to express what's really going on and that you will help me. You've already done that.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not just going to come up to you and say anything, especially if I've been listening to you talk about how victims are. I'm not coming to you. We can be tight. You're not,
Okay.
you are not the one. It's the conversations that you have with each other that will determine if I am going to come to you for help. And that includes men. You with your boys, right? One of your boys may be a victim of domestic violence. You think he's going to tell you that? I mean, because you present yourself to be, macho and you got it all together, and
It's that cultural conditioning thing.
You couldn't possibly understand or help me. That was a manager of my daughters. He invited a lot of people to his home for a get together, a cookout. This man, not him, but another man, was sitting on the sofa, clearly expressing he was in trouble. Everybody just, I heard it. I don't know him though. So all of them, they just laughing. Oh man, you just this, oh, you just that. That man was not laughing. He was almost in tears. He laughed it off. You know how you laugh? Oh yeah, So when we got home, I called my daughter's manager. I said, I would like to express to you a concern that I have with one of your friends. And as I began to tell him or to relate to him what I saw, and he was listening, he said, you got a point. I did not see that. I said, why don't you, if I may suggest, why don't you call him and ask, how can I help you? Because from what I saw, you all help each other financially, or if the other person needs something. He said, but he never asked. I said, because you haven't presented the environment for him to ask. So can you just ask, how can you help him, and see what happens? He called me a couple of days later. He said, you were spot on. Spot on. He was struggling with his bills and he needed our help, and we missed it. But we won't miss it again. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. So they took care of him. He's good now. So when you with your boys, with your girls, listen, nobody gonna come up and say, hey, I'm Gary, I'm a victim of domestic violence. Can you help me? Do you really think somebody just gonna come up and say it like that? They're gonna, it's called a touch test. I'm gonna say something to see if you're paying attention. And that's what he was doing. And nobody was paying attention. I heard him. The first comment he made, I said, oh, nobody hear that man? What are we doing? Said it right out. Nobody heard him.
So we have to listen intently.
Or the people that he wanted to hear did not hear him.
Right. Okay. Wow. We're getting ready to close out. And for the show this show, when it airs later today, we're going to put the domestic violence hotline number up.
Please.
That'll be up there so people can have these resources and let people know. Any final questions, thoughts, or comments from the folks who are here before we close out? As Mildred would say, don't be scared. Oh, we get. Yes.
I want to say thank you very much. This has been quite insightful. And the one thing I've learned to let the abused female know I'm on her side when I meet them. The first question I ask is, don't you have a cousin or uncle or big brother that might be able to step in? I mean, it's not the recommended way, especially since I've been in law
It is
enforcement.
not the
I know,
recommended
and I know
because
that.
you don't know the relationship between them, which is probably why she hasn't called
Said
them.
anything to them, right?
Victims do not communicate with male family members because they are protecting them. They're know
afraid.
if
No,
I
no.
tell them, they're gonna go kill him.
No,
and
no, I just
they're gonna go to jail. So
the reason I said it that way was to let at least the victim know that I'm on their side. It's worked for me in the past, whether that's a good way or not, but it doesn't say that they should.
Just ask, how can I help you?
Okay. Oh, no, no, I'm not saying you got to stop there, but at least they know that they have in some way a sympathetic ear. I'd like them to believe that. And then, of course, through the system, the paperwork, the this, the that. I understand. It's just that I want them to know upfront and right away that I understand, and I don't like it. How's that? You know, there you go. That's it. Gary, thank you very much. Sharon, thank you very much. If nothing else, your facial expressions tell it all. Thank you. I appreciate you. And Gary, you can't see my face because I never did get my camera working. I'm sorry. But it's not such a treat anyway.
You may have done us all a favor. So
thank you very much. God bless and good afternoon. Take care. All right.
You know, I'm just going to close out by thanking everyone for being here, and to remind people to just be patient, to be kind,
Please.
to try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. And one of the things I've learned to say when someone comes to me for help is, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
What do I need to do? You know, and listen, and just listen. So thank you, Mildred.
Thank you.
Oh, this is Gary Johnson for Calculations Talk Show. You can see all of the episodes at www.calculationstalkshow.com. This show will be ready for broadcast and airing later this evening on blackmeninamerica.com, calculationstalkshow.com, Facebook, the Calculations YouTube channel. And until then, be kind, be safe. We're out, everybody.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.